blurry. Why am I blurry?
You know what's great about being a kid? Specifically my kid, I guess, yesterday.
Okay.
My kid yesterday saw that there was snow coming this way. You know, you look at the weather thing, there's warnings, whatever. So to help improve the odds of a school snow day today, she slept with her PJs inside out and a spoon under her pillow. There is, Paul Thurrott, no logic to this. None whatsoever.
This is not where I thought this story was going.
But today, she woke up to 3 inches of snow on the ground, no
Right.
school. And, she believes that she's part of the group that willed this into existence.
You should show her a clip from Gilligan's Island that I always pull out for this type of situation, which is that Gilligan one day is wearing like garlic in a necklace around his neck.
Mm-hmm.
And the skipper's like, Gilligan, why are you wearing the garlic necklace? And he goes, oh, it's to ward off the crocodiles. And the skipper says, there are no crocodiles on this island. And he says, see, it works.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Also
all you need to know about logic right there. Everything, it was all on Gilligan's Island. Sherwood Schwartz, genius.
I still whistle that theme song. I watched that show
Yep.
all the time growing up.
3-hour tour.
Yep.
Sure. This is about 40% of my childhood, really, when you think about it.
It was 40% of my babysitter. I mean, that was like,
Yeah.
turn that show on, everything was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Anyway, so here we are. Kids got a snow day. I don't.
Yeah, it's lightly snowing. My daughter horribly is driving from North Carolina here today. I don't know how that's going to go, but I can just imagine us getting in a car at midnight and going to wherever she is trapped, you know. Good stuff. Just in case you thought the daughter stuff couldn't get any worse.
Well, anyways,
Imagine
if
your
you
daughter
are feeling really
in a car.
spontaneous, you could potentially go to an Apple store and spend $3,500 on a mixed reality headset. Sorry, an Apple Vision Pro.
It's a spatial computing device, Brad. I don't know if you got the memo, but we're not calling it that because Apple. I saw a headline that's like Apple goes humble with the launch of this product. I'm like, go humble? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, whatever.
I keep forgetting to talk about it. So I've got these things in my house.
I can't
These
see
are-
these things. Oh,
Like these.
yeah, like the actual glasses.
Yeah, like actual glasses.
Yeah, how are those?
They're decent. So, but again, like here's like the big problem with not just these things, but Apple's things. So first off, I don't know if there's any reviews of the Vision Pro headset out there. So people got some like early like play with it time, but not like
Yeah, but not actual reviews.
like
Yeah,
a traditional like here's an iPhone, here's a review sort of thing.
Yep.
And so I read a couple of them, like Bloomberg, The Verge, and a couple other sites did, and they all kind of came back and said like the killer thing is like watching videos. I'm like, oh, like
I know, which
Like,
is
really?
a 2D experience floating in space, which, by the way, you could do with Windows Mixed Reality right now if you wanted to.
you can go buy. So if that is the killer scenario that they're pitching, is like this is what you should buy this thing for. These things, which I guess I should talk about more at some point, fall right into that category, and they're wireless.
So, having never heard of this thing,
Yeah.
what does it run? Like, what's the system?
It's some sort of version of Android, I'm guessing.
So it's Android.
Yeah, and there's minimal
Yeah,
apps
okay.
on there, but there's Netflix, there's Amazon Prime. You can plug it, so you can do this. But I'm going to tell you, it's not what you should buy this for. You can plug it into. It has an adapter, like an HDMI cable, right into your PC.
Oh, like
and
as a monitor.
just like mixed reality, except you don't have that weird interface that Alex Kipman designed that was completely useless.
the outdoor patio thing or whatever.
Right. It becomes basically a monitor. You can plug it into an Xbox, same thing. But they also sell this little like pack that's basically a battery and a wireless connectivity thing. And using that, you can, and there's a massive caveat to this, use Miracast or what's the Apple one called? AirPlay. To beam content to this little puck that fits into your pocket and then displays up on there. However, it's really, they got some software kinks to work out there. However, if your primary purpose is to just watch Netflix or Amazon Prime, these things are fine. They are, like, if you're sitting on a plane or something, you're like, I want a bigger screen and wear these things, that's fine. You don't need an Apple Vision Pro to do that. And it's pretty big.
There's no way that watching a movie is the killer app for this.
No, there's
Apple
no
thing.
way.
And,
No way.
what? At least one review. I don't read these things thoroughly, but someone was like, it actually gets really heavy after about 10, 15 minutes. It's
Yeah.
like, of course it does. It's like, does anyone like to wear ski goggles around the house,
Well,
with a helmet
ski
on?
goggles with weights, like,
Yeah, that's what yeah, right.
yeah,
That's why I added the helmet. But yeah, it's,
yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. Look, there's always this caveat with Apple because they're Apple. I personally, I look at this and I think it's ridiculous, but I always, you got to have that Apple caveat thing.
Hmm.
And I will say, actually, it's behind, if you can see like back there, I guess, um, is the original iPhone, right?
Oh, yeah,
Which
yeah.
compared to at the time was like this miracle wonder device. And you look at it now and you're like, oh, really? I mean, it looks ridiculous.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I'm not saying it, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, right. It depends. Like we don't have a good vision on where this thing is headed, and I think we could both. At least I could be like, look,
Hmm.
these things are like the AirPods. We're like, those are just those dumb Bluetooth things that everybody wore, and now everybody has AirPods.
Yeah, and now they're everywhere.
Right.
Literally everywhere.
However,
Yeah.
those things were always $99 or whatever. They were in that
Yeah.
that
Well,
price range of whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
Paul, throughout,
I mean,
I would make this other point
okay.
that Apple's most successful products for the past decade, maybe even
Listening.
longer than a decade, have
Are slow
stemmed
bunnies.
exclusively from things that are linked to the iPhone. So AirPods
Oh
and
yeah,
watch.
100. Oh no, that's 100% true.
100%.
They
Services.
probably have a. I don't know. I'm gonna spout a number like an ass. Sorry, like like an idiot. But they probably have like $40 billion services industry. Whatever the number is, that wouldn't exist without the iPhone.
Right.
Everyone's like, "Oh, look, Apple's diversifying." It's like, yeah, not really. You know, they're not replacing the iPhone; they're augmenting it, right? Or they're milking it, maybe, because for a long time they could expand and grow by bringing it to new markets, new carriers. They expanded the number of phones they offer. They kept phones in market for several years to lower prices and get that part of the market. And now it's saturated. So what do? You build products that, build off of that. And AirPods are a great example of that. The watch, this Vision Pro thing, all the services, none of this exists without the iPhone. None of these things are standalone businesses that could survive without the iPhone, which is okay. I mean, iPhone's doing pretty good. I don't know if you've been following the news lately.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yeah, what are we, like 16-ish years, so almost 17 years into the iPhone, and it's doing great.
Yeah.
So like, whatever.
I'd still make the argument too that I think Google Glass had a better sort of not interface but
form
user
factor
experience because again, it's not taking over your world; it's supplementing it with that little display.
Yeah. Well, so I don't remember how this came out. I think this was just no. I think Google confirmed this, but Google isn't doing like first-party AR or VR hardware anymore. But several years ago now, I was still in Dedham, so whenever that was, but they had that cardboard thing, right? It's a little cheap thing.
Oh
And
yeah.
there was a magical aspect to it, which is crazy given how stupid that is. But there was something really neat to that, and that thing was both inexpensive and lightweight, and dispensable. And I mean literally dispensable, but also in the sense like you didn't need it every day for anything. Like I would pop it on and go through Google Maps. I always talk about Street View and walk down streets of Paris because I know that city really well and I can, know where I'm going and all that stuff. And there was something pretty special about that, honestly, as goofy and low tech as it was. But we'll see. We'll see what they do.
Yeah.
Apple gets UI right usually, although I will have argued, and will continue to argue that like the Apple Watch user interface is ridiculous and doesn't in any way build off of anything already, which makes it really weird. And Android Wear and whatever Google has done on this for years and years has always been better. It's just simple. It works. It makes sense. And I never used the glass thing, but I mean, I'm sure there was it had the same kind of simplicity to it, and whatever. No one buys these things, so who cares? But the Apple Watch, I've always thought the Apple Watch UI was garbage, and it's like a bubble tea UI or something. Like what's the
Well,
like,
they
what
got
do you
rid
call
of
this
so they've changed things for better and more recently, I think for the worse. So
Right.
that bubble thing is honestly, it's a legacy at this point. You can
Okay.
get out of that and into a list view, which is what I default into. Unless you're my 10-year-old, she loves the bubble view. So there you go. There's your
Of
data point.
course.
But
Yeah,
they
but
just
that's like
changed up.
that babies love mobiles.
Yeah,
Like I mean,
not too
right?
far
I
from
mean,
the truth there. But they did just change up how what the little side button does and the
Okay.
wheel, and they tried to make it more uniform. But the problem is that I've got years of whatever that it's like the Windows 8 experience. Like
It's muscle memory or what? Or
yeah,
just memory.
it's like I would be happy just to go back. But
Yep. No, I think Apple went. I'm sure hired people from the high end watch industries and wanted to be faithful to this thing that nobody knows about or cares about, and so they they literally call it a digital crown because that's actually what that watch piece is called on mechanical watches that are really expensive, and it's like nobody cares. Like what this is the watch equivalent of you make a Kindle type device and there's like a page turning animation, so it's sort of like a book, and it's like, guys, one of the reasons you switch to a new form factor, digital, whatever, is to make this thing not just the same but better, right? So as it turns out, a flat digital display, aside from holding an infinite number of books, which is awesome, can also have usability improvements over this old analog thing we used to do. So I've always felt like that was the central mistake Apple did with the watch, but whatever. Google, it's weird because again, no one uses these things, but the Android Wear UI, you get it, you're like, yeah, it's immediately obvious what's going on. Like it's the simplest thing in the world. It's nice.
it's not all that surprising, honestly. Google tends to do fairly well with UIs.
Yeah, yeah. But Apple tends to outsell them by an order of magnitude. So we're sort of we're arguing nothing in a way.
I think you could make an argument that, especially maybe these days, Google does software better, but Apple does hardware better.
There you go. Yeah,
Right.
right. Like, yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, I have nothing to add. Yes.
Maybe you could add something about there was yesterday, Apple. Xbox had their developer direct. It was direct. It was the games that they said were going to be there, except one additional Japanese game, which doesn't really pique my interest, but I'm sure there's people out there that whatever. And
Honestly, almost none of it piqued my interest. I was kind of surprised by the limited nature of this thing. It was
really
a handful of games, really. Like it was kind of strange. Like I don't.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I mean, they were very cautious compared to previous years, like saying, look, these things are launching this year. This is what you can play this year. Obviously, we know none of the ABK stuff was happening. That was ahead of time.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, to me, the bigger news this past week with Xbox was that, and it wasn't like a big announcement or anything, but this kind of continuation of the idea that Xbox doesn't care about exclusives that are literally exclusive to a device. And so for a long time now, we've had Xbox exclusives, which are sort of across the ecosystem. And now they're talking about extending that to Nintendo and PlayStation, right? And there is this group of gamers who has a hard time handling this, because the traditional way this has been for consoles is, you buy a Sony because they have whatever franchises you love, and that's where your brain is. And as a gamer, I think, anyone, if they really thought about this, I feel that you should, but it's the Google Apple thing we just talked about. I want to buy the best hardware,
Right.
but I want all the games. I don't want to own a PlayStation and an Xbox. I want to own the better one and then play all my games, right? And that's kind of a naive view today, but I mean that it's sort of where they're trying to go. It's honestly, this is Satya Nadella, right? The meet your customers where they are thing, right? Office on iPad, whatever. Like they shouldn't care. I mean, they probably do care, but they don't. They understand that the world uses different devices, whatever device type we're talking about. Let's go there.
Yep. It does. It really doesn't bother me at all. I've bought every single Xbox. I'll probably buy all the other ones. The
Same.
thing that I think people need to understand is that building games is very expensive. It's not getting any cheaper, especially with a high bar. And if you want, as an example, use Sea of Thieves, because I think that's what's rumored to go to PlayStation at some point or whatever. If you want Microsoft to continue to put money into it and to develop DLC, they need to be making money additionally, because when you buy a game, you've paid for everything that has been developed. You are paying for nothing that will be developed.
Yeah.
And so they need great. So let's just
Well,
use,
they need a bigger audience,
right.
right? I
To
mean, the bigger
justify
the
it.
audience, the better it is for you. I mean, so
Right.
if you're somehow as an Xbox user insulted or whatever by the notion that your favorite game, like Halo, might go to other platforms, by the way, um, I think you're not really looking at it clearly. Like if you are really a Halo fan, this will benefit you.
Yeah.
You'll have more people to play with online if you're playing multiplayer. I mean, that's one of the neat things with Call of Duty when they started going cross-platform for multiplayer, right? All of a sudden, there's a huge audience out there,
Yep.
a huger audience, I guess.
A bigly audience. Bigly.
A bigly, is that the word? Bigly, a bigly audience.
Biglier.
Bigly.
I'm just making up words. These are not words.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Anyways, it's Friday. Snow on the ground.
Snow in the air too. It's a great day.
It's probably coming towards you. I mean, logically.
Oh, it's on me.
Is it?
It's not. It's here. There's nothing to anticipate except for the number of inches of snow we'll have when it's over.
Well, you enjoy that.
I'm gonna try.